COVID-19 has changed the world. I'm interviewing extraordinary people on the front line, stepping up with amazing acts of kindness in the fight against this virus. Tune in to watch, support and share their inspiring stories, because together we are stronger.
First of all, I want to say, Alison, thank you so much for agreeing to be interviewed today. And also thank you so much for starting your initiative on your back. But Alison, tell me more about your initiative. What is it that you're doing?
Okay, we've set up a Facebook group. It's Key Workers, Isolation, Accommodation, Finder Cornwall. It's a bit of a mouthful, but obviously it's exactly what we're doing.
And will that be based in Cornwall then?
Yes, we are based in Cornwall. We were going to cover the southwest, but it just proved more simple to change it slightly and just do Cornwall and cover the areas that we sort of knew better. A friend of mine, Emma, she started the page up. Basically, when the lockdown was first announced, she noticed a lot of posts on social media from key workers looking to actually find somewhere to live and self-isolate away from their family members, whether they had vulnerable family members or they were wary of taking the potential of COVID-19 back to their households. And on that basis, she decided to set the page up. We have an annex in our house, and it's completely self-contained. So I messaged her to offer the annex to somebody, because we're also very close to the Tirelessly Hospital in Cornwall. I thought we'd be in quite a good position if somebody did need the facility, and ours was snapped up really quickly, so that was amazing. I also then offered to help Emma with any administration of the page, and that's how I became involved.
Wow. So why do you think, what are you seeing? Why do you think it's so important that people have a need, or why is it so important that people are needing additional accommodation at this time?
The thing with it is obviously, ultimately, at the beginning of the lockdown, the information that a lot of people had through was that certain groups weren't necessarily as at much risk as others of death from COVID-19. But I think as time has got on, because it has been affecting so many different people and so many different age ranges, obviously key workers are having to go out to work every single day to keep that country running. And the fact that they are not only putting themselves at risk, but potentially members of their own families, is obviously something that is proving to be a bit of an issue. And as time's gone on, I think especially with things like viral loading coming into the equation and people thinking that that's a possibility for certain people not managing to fight the disease off, that's why I think that it is a necessity for people to protect their family members, even when they're selflessly giving themselves over to potentially catch it themselves.
So how does it work if you go on your Facebook? How does it work if somebody's trying to find a property?
Right, basically what we normally recommend that people post directly onto our page, and they can then communicate with anybody that has got a property to offer if they're a key worker, or if they're a property owner, key workers can contact them directly to actually get more information and to find out if it's going to be suitable for both parties.
And if I'm a key worker, for example, and I'm paying out a mortgage, how am I going to afford two properties?
Basically, what we have wanted to try and push mostly on our page is that accommodation is offered at free or reduced rates.
Wow, that's
we live in Cornwall, obviously, hence the title, and we have such a massive tourist industry, which unfortunately at the moment isn't running at all because of the lockdown. So we do have a lot of accommodation available that is out there that people could potentially use as key workers, even if the owners only cover the costs of what they're actually having to keep the property going.
Yes, of course, and at least then it's being used. What are you finding the challenges at the moment?
The challenges at the moment, the page is growing at a steady rate, but it's not growing as quickly as we potentially wanted. Because of the nature of what we're doing, we can't use a lot of the social media norms to increase your range, is to put like funny, jokey, laughy, silly things on. But because of what we're doing, we don't feel that we can really do that because it's quite a sensitive issue, what we're trying to cover.
Yeah, obviously.
So we're literally pushing, liking and sharing, constantly. We've emailed a message, probably anyone that's got anything ever to do with Cornwall. We did, I messaged all the MPs in Cornwall last week, and a few of those actually put it on their page and highlighted it, which was brilliant. It really increased the amount of likes that we had. But yeah, that's what we're struggling with that a little bit at the moment, and we're not seeming to get, still getting a lot of requests from key workers, but not as many properties from property owners. So maybe we're not necessarily getting to both sides of who we're aiming for.
Right. So if there are any property owners out there in Cornwall, and look, huge tourist industry, as you just said,
yeah.
If you're sitting on a property that's vacant, and it probably is because there are no tourists, let's face it, going anywhere at the moment, then open your doors. Please contact Alison or Emma and put forward your property. Really,
yeah, we would be so grateful. The thing is, I think what the basically what seems to have come out of the lockdown and the COVID-19 crisis the most is how much people are pulling together. And I think the amount of people that we've had that are offering properties for nothing, we understand that not everyone can do that, and that's not something that we think is feasible. But realistically, the people who are needing to use this accommodation have got bills and households elsewhere, so they're not necessarily going to have enough expendable income to, you know, pay a large sum of money for accommodation. And if it's something they find as a necessity, then realistically we're hoping that people could just cover their costs, even if it's cleaning costs and so on.
And also, you know, the government are now providing mortgage relief. So anybody, and I know because I'm a property owner myself, if you do have a property and it is sitting vacant, you can claim for sort of the mortgage relief. And if you're getting key workers in as well, there are also government incentives there. So
yeah, the hospital are running, they're running housing initiatives as well. Airbnb are running a housing initiative also through their property owners. So there are other places, and there are other pages within the UK that are covering the rest of the UK too. So, you know, even if you're not based in Cornwall and you do see this, then definitely have a look in your local area and see if you can find, you know, somewhere that could make use of your property.
And Alison, we just had announced last night we're in lockdown for a further 3 weeks. How do you see that affecting key workers and the properties?
I think that the necessity is going to continue to be there. We don't see any signs of it abating. We're not getting fewer requests through for properties. We're getting a steady amount every day. So I think that, and especially as there is a possibility that people will have to self-isolate or have to move properties due to more risk or people potentially becoming infected, I think it's just going to have to carry on as it is at the moment.
Yeah, and how successful have you been? Have you managed to sort of match, or do you know of people that have come through?
We've got somebody living in our annex. She works at the hospital and she had to isolate due to the fact her parents were vulnerable, so she couldn't actually work at the beginning of the crisis because she couldn't put them at risk. So she is here until she needs to not be here anymore. We've got another few people that have found accommodation, whether directly or not through the page. And again, we're just looking to try and put people together as much as we can. We're promoting certain people if they're really struggling to find somewhere. We're making sure that that's pinned to the top of our page so that people can see that there's a necessity. And realistically, as soon as we get property owners, if we get anything in an area that we know someone's looking, we can obviously let them know and give them a nudge about it and say, you know, maybe give this one a try. So it's been successful. The thing is, ultimately, even if we could have helped one person, then it would have been a success.
Absolutely.
It's irrespective of how big the page. It's never been our intention to have something that's massive and nationalised. It is basically just to help anyone that we can help at this time.
So Alison, if a key worker or somebody that has an accommodation in Cornwall wants to get in touch with you, how do they go about doing that?
Okay, the best way is to probably contact us through the Facebook page. Obviously, if you don't have Facebook, somebody that you know more than likely will. And if you send us a message, we can get hold of you that way. basically, if you send us a message with what you're looking for or the accommodation that you've got to offer, we'll post it onto the page, and then any interested parties on either side will directly contact you, and you can organise to have someone at your property or to find a property for yourself.
Great, and we're going to put the link below the video, so anyone that watches this, there'll be a link. You can just press on the button and go straight through. Is there anything else that you'd like to say, Alison, at this point?
All I'd like to say is such a massive thank you to all of our key workers that are looking for somewhere at the moment and that we've helped to find a place for, and all of the property owners that have selflessly offered their properties. Without any of you people, none of it would work. You know, if we didn't have any properties, we'd just have key workers and it would just be horrendous. So we are so grateful to people that are actually and liking and sharing the page and helping us increase the range that we're actually managing to cover. So again, it's just thanking everyone else.
And if there are any lessons to come out of this whole COVID-19, what would those be?
The thing is, I think what we've realised now is that preparation is the key. And I think that the lesson that we've learned is just to get ourselves prepared in advance. When Emma started the page up, what the ideal was that we would try and get it sorted out so it was running smoothly prior to the peak of the infection. And I think we've managed to do that based on what's happened so far. So yeah, I think that's about it really.
Be prepared. Alison, you're doing an amazing job. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this interview, and let's get your message out. Namaste. Thank you.
Thank you very much.